Rod deserves anything and more that we could give it. And we have the video before that says, they can hear you in the locker room. They can.
They can.
When you travel to different rinks, it's loud, but it's not our kind of loud.
The uniforms are fantastic.
I will say this.
Yeah.
As a little bit of a teaser, we always like looking at them.
Did you ever see that you would go from intern to president of this franchise?
I was a confident kid, so I'd probably say yes. I need tea for this.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Welcome to another episode of the Iced Tea Podcast. I am your host, Meghan LaMontagne, and today I interview President of the Carolina Hurricanes, Doug Warf. He started off as an intern there, is now the president, and you are not going to believe the big changes coming to Lenovo Center in the coming year, and you won't believe his role the night the Canes won the Stanley Cup in 2006. Iced Tea is a production of Mix 101.5 and presented by Lane & Associates Family Dentistry, where every patient is treated like family. President Doug Warf of the Carolina Hurricanes, welcome to the Iced Tea Podcast. I'm thrilled to have you on.
I'm excited to be on. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, you are the overseer of business operations, so can you just kind of, in general terms, explain what that is in a nutshell, if you can?
Once I figure it out, I'll tell you. Overseer sounds daunting. But yeah, anything that's business ops for both the team and the arena is something I get to deal with. So a lot of that's sales, marketing, but also operations, food and beverage. Anything you see going on that's not the team playing, I've got some piece of. But key is I have really smart people on the team that I work with.
Oh my goodness. Well, as fans, you are crushing it. I'm very thrilled to dive deeper and get to know you more. But I always start off by asking, what does a home game day look like for you?
It's a good question. I'm still trying to figure it out, I think. We're in a little bit of a sales mode, so there's some of that where there are usually meetings that start 5:15 where we're showcasing new parts of.
In the morning?
No. Oh, geez.
Oh,
no,
Lord,
I went to like game time.
Okay, that's good.
That's a little frightening. No, normal day starts me as anything else would. I go through a ton of meetings. I feel like that's what I live in is meetings. And that usually wraps for me on a game day around 5. And that's when I kind of go into my game day mode where I go into more meetings, but they're usually sales focused. And then throughout the game, I'm bouncing from different people who may be in the building. So I don't see a ton of our games at home. I think I get made fun of at my house because road games I'll watch intently, and then home games I maybe see 10 minutes of.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, because I stand up in 229 and I see you pop in and out and you'll watch the game and you're chatting with people. But where are you mostly during a home game? Because I know you're here, there, and everywhere.
That's the best way to put it. Here, there, and everywhere. So I am all over all 5 floors of the arena throughout a game, and I get a lot of steps in. And there are a few times in brief moments where I say, okay, where can I go watch for like 38 seconds? And it's usually right next to you at 229.
Yes.
And it's funny, having been there for a long time before, that was kind of my hangout back when I was VP of marketing in the olden days. And so it's kind of hard to break some of those habits of where you go when there is a moment to breathe. But that's one spot.
And it's a great spot to watch.
I love that angle.
It's a great
Shoot
angle.
Twice in, you can see the net, especially in the third periods, the action's coming to you. It's a great spot.
Now, because you are here, there, and everywhere, and you do get the opportunity to speak with a lot of fans, like, what would you tell fans that might recognize you but a little nervous to approach you and go up to you? I mean, like, are you an open book? Can people say hi?
Without a doubt. I still have to remind myself that there are people who want to say hi to me, because it's just not what I think about in a game day. I love our hockey community and I love our fan base, and so I really enjoy talking with people. So the times that people do want to talk, I'm all ears, unless I am running to something. But then I usually kind of say hi and then let you know that I need to run. But yeah, wide open book.
Do you ever travel to the away games?
Yeah, I will more moving forward. I've only done a couple trips this year. It's been getting my feet kind of under me a little bit more this year. We've got so much going on with renovations and development and just trying to figure out where we are from a sales process overall as I kind of get reacclimated. But yeah, I think travel is good from seeing other buildings and seeing what they're doing. I like going to buildings that have recently done renovations to see some of the things they've done to make sure we're stealing best practices. But I don't travel a ton, but I do it intently when I do.
Yeah. And that's a perfect segue into what I wanted to start talking to you about, because the fan base is growing so rapidly. Raleigh as an area is growing so rapidly. And there's so much that's going to be happening at Lenovo Center. So what do the fans have to look forward to in the coming years? I know there's a lot, but can you give us a little hint of what it's going to look like?
So, I mean, it's broken out in the way I usually describe it. There's two different things. You have the arena renovations. So that's one piece of kind of think of anything inside the building itself. Mm-hmm. And then there's the development outside the building. So it's two different major projects. Brian Fork gets to lead both to some extent. And, it's a task.
Oh, so, I can't even imagine.
And the inside of the building's already started. A lot of people don't know that. The arena renovations, so we have to dig out at the arena level, so down behind the locker rooms, we have to build out new spaces. So that's red clay down there. And to do what we need to do, we need to make a wider footprint. So they're currently digging out the red clay, excavating it out the back north end. Our goal is for fans to never see that right now.
I mean, you're succeeding, because I'm in there. I'm in there in the weeds even more than fans are. And I had no idea this was happening.
And if you were in there at midnight, you would hear loud jackhammers and concrete exploding, and then them carrying that out throughout the day. So we are working kind of around the clock to get things ready. It's a long story. I won't bore you with the details, but on that arena level, to bring in this new Lenovo Legend Club and the bunker suites and some new fan access points on the ice level, we have to take the stuff that's currently housed there, so that's mainly storage areas, and put that storage somewhere. So that's what they're excavating right now. We then move the storage. We then build the rooms and the new clubs and bunker suites, and that's kind of part of phase one, along with the 300 level. The 300 level gets a full upgrade. There's a new view bar going in. There's new concessions that are higher end, that are grab-and-go style, much more convenient. So there is a three-phased approach to the inside renovations. This is phase one. Our goal is for most of it to happen in the off-seasons. I think it's a little bit lofty to say it will all happen in the off-seasons. There'll be a little bit of bleed. But it's mainly the summers of this year and then the following two. And you kind of start at the bottom and the top and then work down and out of the building. So next summer, the summer after, would be when we kind of hit club level and main con, and then the final summer is when you'd see a lot of exterior renovations and kind of the look of the building change, and then some of the functionality of the way the building will start to interact with the development outside. So there's just so much that's going on. It's kind of wild right now.
I cannot wait. I know it's a few years or however many years down the road, but for also the outside to get that look and that entertainment. And there's going to be shops and restaurants, and can people even maybe potentially live down there one day if there's one complexes?
Not one day, it's in the plans.
That's so awesome.
And it is, to me, having gone to NC State and kind of growing up with the arena.
Yeah.
What's wild is if you look back at when the arena paperwork was signed in 1997, it contemplated mixed use in 1997. It contemplated retail shops and hotels and those things. It's just taken us 28 years to get here, essentially, to where it's going to start happening. So in December of this year, of 25, shovels will go in the ground outside to start building the first two parking decks, then the Live Nation venue, and then what will be some type of sports bar concept that'll be kind of in the east parking lots this coming year. So there's a lot going on.
Oh my gosh, what a time to be a Caniac and to be, here in Raleigh. I'm obsessed with that. Iced Tea is presented by Lane & Associates Family Dentistry. Now, the team at Lane, they don't just handle fillings and cleanings. They also do cosmetic dentistry, Invisalign, sleep apnea, and even TMJ care. So to find a location near you, head to lanedds.com. So you just mentioned, and I don't know if a lot of people know, but you started with the Carolina Hurricanes as an intern.
Yeah.
And now you are the president. So you just kind of mentioned the growth, but what has it been like literally being, seeing the team start when it was brand new? Carolina Hurricanes from the Whalers to now. What has that been like?
I smile because it does mean something to me because I know where we came from. And I think that's kind of fun, right? When I started in 2001, we were having to explain that the Carolina Hurricanes were a member of the NHL, and here's what the NHL is, And
right.
I used to say, I had to break myself of saying I work for the Carolina Hurricanes, a team in the National Hockey League. That's what we said for the first handful of years while we'd introduce ourselves. And so it's amazing to see the growth from where that was. I remember vividly certain trips where we'd go out of market and no one knew who we were, and we had to explain that no, we don't play your local ECHL team. We're playing the Detroit Red Wings and the Montreal Canadiens, and that was shocking to people.
Yeah.
And then it was also early days. There were people who didn't love hockey, and I think that's kind of dissipated to some extent.
100% it has.
Yeah, and so it's kind of fun to watch the temperature change of where maybe we were fighting whether like hockey belonged in the Southeast to now everyone loves the idea, and maybe they've got a different favorite team, but they've got an opinion and they want to talk about hockey, which is extremely exciting.
Well, what I love and really just witnessed when we played the Washington Capitals was, I don't know if I love this. I'd rather them in a Canes jersey, but when people came and, you're talking with the fans, they said, oh, I'm a Canes fan, but I'm from Washington. So when our team comes here, I root for both teams, but the people are switching jerseys. I mean, I told you I'm from Boston, and I do not root for the Bruins anymore, even though they were my home team growing up. So it's really great when the people are transplants and moving here and been dedicated to a team. They are now choosing the Carolina Hurricanes as their team.
We talked about a lot in the early days and still talk about it because you would have, especially what I'd say pre this run of playoffs, pre-2017, you'd have someone who's a fan of a team, of the Canes, 39 times a year, and then 2 nights a year they're in a Rangers or a Bruins or whatever jersey.
Right.
And as I always talked to my staff back then of saying, hey guys, we're raising Canes fans now. Mm-hmm. And that 22-year-old who leaves NC State and moves to Chicago, we don't want them to immediately become a Blackhawks fan. So we need to understand that happens.
Right.
Our goal back then was to get the kids. And you let the parent stay a Rangers fan twice a year and 39 times a Canes fan. The kid, I want to be a Canes fan. And that's what's really exciting about right now is you're seeing that generational change where there are people who grew up in the market and don't know this market without the team. If you were born in this market in the late 90s, early 2000s, your cognitive years, the Canes as being a Raleigh-based team.
Yeah.
And those folks are now buying tickets, and those folks are even starting to have kids, and you're starting to see second and third generation Canes fans, which that's the key thing to see a market flip. It's impossible for someone to go plant a team in a market and say, oh, you're going to have deep roots and you're going to overcome having rough seasons for 4 or 5 years. You can't when you're a new team.
Exactly.
And we're finally starting to see that shift.
And you and I were talking before we started rolling about Shane Willis, all good things, obviously, but he's done such a fascinating job with the community outreach as well and youth hockey. And we have one of the best youth hockey programs in the country. And that says so much, too, where not only kids are loving the team, but they're loving the sport in general. So that's amazing.
Yeah, we just sent 5 teams to nationals. We had 1 team win a national championship.
Fantastic.
And seeing the growth there. And Shane is a big part of it. There were people that came before him, Paul Strands, the Brian Memes, who laid the groundwork, but Shane's been phenomenal.
Oh, I'm so excited. And, we dipped our toe in, but let's go full throttle. Playoffs around the corner. What can the fans...
I need tea for this.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yes. Let's take our tea for sure. Let me sip and make sure this is unsweet. We're good.
Mine's perfectly sweet.
Oh, good. I love that. I know I've never even asked you. I also start with, what kind of tea you like, and you chose the sweet tea because you were from North Carolina.
Yeah. It makes me feel good.
Good. Well, I'm glad you were feeling at home. But yes, let's dive into the playoffs. What can the fans anticipate? I mean, obviously the loudest house in the NHL. There's a different vibe when it comes to playoffs.
Without a doubt. Yeah. And I've been a fan the last 7 years, so I did my sabbatical kind of away from the Canes. I think I've maybe missed 2 playoff games in the last 7 years. So, we still kept season tickets. I still was at almost every playoff game outside of a couple of friends who had ill-timed weddings. But that moment when the team takes the ice is big. I've seen what our team is working on from creative, and I love it. And I think, not to give too much away, I think we're leaning into, there's been a lot of really positive comments from some of our players about how much they love Raleigh and how much they love playing inside Lenovo Center. And we're leaning into some of those comments and using that as kind of a motivator as the team takes the ice.
I mean, I'm getting chills already, so I can only imagine. And when the lights are down and they're going and that video is playing, the chills and the goosebumps and the Raleigh towels going, there's nothing like it. And if you've never been to a playoff game, please come, because the electricity, especially at Lenovo Center,
it's wild.
Is on. I have moments where I am so thankful to do what I do. And then you get towards the end of the season and you're still thankful, but you're like, oh, the season's been long. Playoffs, I always have a moment where I'm like, this is why I do this.
Oh, without a doubt.
This is why I do this.
And I think sometimes it gets lost because, we have the video before that says, they can hear you in the locker room. They can.
They can.
And, going back to my internship days, my early start days, I was on the kind of the promotions team and would do the in-game entertainment. And I was always near or on the ice for the anthem to make sure the anthem singer was good and backup mics. In the playoffs, we usually had to communicate with two people. You couldn't speak to the other person. So we had to come up with hand signs, because even though we're as close as we are here, you can't yell and talk. And we had to come up with signs of, okay, you grab this, your time to get it. And I think that's what people need to understand is as those guys are taking the ice, they can't hear. And that's not always normal. When you travel to different rinks, it's loud, but it's not our kind of loud.
And I'm excited for, the new guys on the team that we just welcomed this year to experience that also for the first time.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Amazing. Now, did you ever see in your path, in your life, that you would go from intern to president of this franchise?
I was a confident kid, so I'd probably say yes.
That's great, though. You have to have that confidence.
It was something I talked about when I was younger. And there were a lot of people who helped me. Jim Rutherford, Jason Carmanos, Pete Carmanos, people in that first iteration of the team, Mike Amendola. I would voice that to them. I would say, hey, this is a path. I've never had a dream of being a GM. I don't want to trade players. But as I got into the business, I've loved the business because I see what a team, a pro sports team, does for a community. And I'll be honest, when, in that 2000 to 2005-06 run, it felt unique that Raleigh would have a pro sports team. I would say Pete Carmanos was probably a little early jumping into this market. And so for the fact that our community had a professional sports team, it meant something to me. And there was a piece of that of how do we keep this moving forward so it stays here? And I love having been a part of that. But yeah, there was always a goal that I wanted to reach that mark. What's interesting maybe for me than maybe some other people in the pro sports ranks, I haven't ever had that for other teams. So like if you offered me the president role of X team in X city, I don't know if I would be as excited about that. This was a particular place I wanted to be because I loved what I was doing when I left. The last 7 years, I've really enjoyed what I was doing with MDO Holdings and Michael Ollender Jr. So for me to come back, it was a special role, a special time.
Well, we're very thankful to have you. And now that you're year one, if you will, is kind of wrapping up of you being the president, what has been there's been a lot of projects, a lot of fundraisers, but what has been the one that you are most proud of?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think the things that always still surprise me, we're at 107 straight sellouts.
Yes.
Which is just wild, right?
Wild.
That's a big one that I think still Doug from 10 years ago has a hard time fathoming. I think that I still love what we get to do when we interact with the community. So I would point to two things. One, our Western North Carolina assistance has been huge. And we met the $1 million commitment thanks to our owner, our players, and most importantly, our fans. And watching where some of that money's going and hearing those stories, I'm actually a little bummed. We've got a team in Western North Carolina right now. So Amy Daniels, Nigel Wheeler, our general counsel, a bunch of folks, Shane Willis are in Western North Carolina right now, seeing where we've been given the money. They've been texting me photos and stories. It's devastating where they still are, but it's really heartwarming knowing how much we're donating is really helping locations in need. The other thing, we had a kid, Anthony, who came out who was in a little bit different situation than a lot of the Make-A-Wish kids we work with. A lot of times you're working with kids who've been through battles, but have positive prognosis, and Anthony's is not. And the fact he chose our team as his one thing that he wanted to do meant a lot to me. That hey, here's a kid who's in a really rough spot, and this is what he wants to do, is the positive time. And then his outlook. I mean, I spent a lot of time with him the day he was with the team, and you would have never guessed where he was. And he just told me, he said, hey, I take every day by day. And the Canes are a big part of it. How we're playing, what trades we're making, how guys are doing. And it's just a good reminder, one, how lucky we are, but two, what the team means to a lot of people.
Yeah, the team means so much. And there is also a video of that journey with him, right, on the YouTube page. Yeah, it's I remember we showed it in game as well, and it was a beautiful story. But yeah, that's what this team is doing for this community, and it's a family. Yeah. It's a family. I actually got to, if you watch the video back, I almost get decapitated by Stormy and his giant flag on the ice, because we don't usually put people in the storm surge with the players. But that's right.
I was taking Anthony out. We came out from the Olympia entrance, and Stormy didn't know we were coming, and my matrix skills were good, so I dodged it really well.
Listen, Stormy has a mind of its own, so I love that you were okay on that moment. That's something that I've always been intrigued by, though. When being down there on the ice for the storm surge, what was that moment like for you? Because
that's cool. Yeah,
in the stands,
you hear the fans. I think that's the thing that maybe gets lost a lot of times from our fan base, is that when you're on the ice, you hear them and it comes through, and when it's loud and when people are clapping, you feel it. And those moments, you're doing the storm surge because you won, right?
Yes.
And so there's a piece of that where there's just elation that's built in. And when you've got a special moment like that, it's over the top.
How did the storm surge start? I don't even think I know that. Do you?
I think that happened when I was gone.
Okay.
I think there's some mythical nature around how the storm surge and who actually started it. But I think Justin Williams, and Jordan Stahl, and Tom Dundon. I think there's a bunch of people who were in play there.
Okay.
But I love it because it's a cool moment of connection between the fans and the team after a win. Like, it's just a neat way to stay bonded. And if you look now to what that looks like, then the 3 stars, then the bench interview, and how that plays as opposed to where we were 10 to 15 years ago, you have people sticking around and not rushing to their cars. That's a rare thing. Like, most people at the end of games in almost every market, it's okay, how quickly can I get out of here, get in my car, and get home? We have a lot of fans who want to stick around for that cool moment.
I mean, I stay for a while because I'm packing up my things
and
putting away and I have to. Yeah, I'm not rushing out, I promise. My boss over here. No, but I'm still in traffic even an hour after the game because people are just enjoying and tailgating and wrapping things up and having conversations, and it's so wonderful to see that. And when my parents came in town, they came to a game, and again, my dad is very, very much a Bruins fan, but he was very excited and wanted the team to win because he could not wait to participate in the surge. So, and
That's
we did.
Cool.
We got a win, and he was able. I have a picture of him like with his arms up doing that. So it meant a lot to me too.
He's starting to shift a little bit. Then.
I think
be careful.
They're gonna they're gonna retire and move down here, and it's gonna be great. And Carolina will be the new number 1. Plus, Boston ain't that good this year, so if they know it's good for them. But I was also reading that you had a hand in 2 uniform redesigns.
Okay, I was wondering where we were going. Yeah,
that's really cool. What designs?
One that might not have been as popular was what we called our new Storm design, which was our first big shift. So it was when we changed the red and the white jerseys.
Okay.
2013, 14. That was a drastic shift. Sometimes you have to go away from the classic for the classic to be cool again.
Mm-hmm.
We listened to the fans, and then as I was leaving, I guess what's kind of the current red was the last project I worked on. So was what our current red jersey looks like, of kind of bringing the flag pattern back into the bottom.
Yeah.
I did get to work on the warning flag logo and kind of the negative space with the state logo, but that didn't come to fruition, didn't get rolled out from probably 2 years after I left. So.
But that is really cool, and something I didn't even realize until, I don't know if it was Mike Foreman who posted it, and I was like, oh my gosh, yes, North Carolina is literally in between the flags. That's so unique.
Yeah, it was funny. We went outside of our design team to try to start that project. And we kept saying things that we wanted and where we wanted kind of the little Easter egg moments. And no one could get why we wanted to do it. And so we just said at that time, don't worry about it. We'll handle it in-house. And I think what our team came up with was better than anything that anybody out of house was trying to help us with.
The uniforms are fantastic and they look great. And that's really a really fun project that you get to work on.
I will say this as a little bit of a teaser. We always like looking at them. So, I don't think I like that Tom Dundon likes to change things up. And so he's not one who gets stuck in, hey, lore of this or that. So we are always analyzing. There are long processes. So, even if you design something, it usually doesn't roll out for like a year and a half.
Okay.
But,
wait, is this a teaser saying there might be a new rollout?
I think we're always looking at our different kits. So, you can look at the home, you can look at the road, you can look at the third. I think always trying to keep things fresh and different.
Okay. Well, thank you, Doug Warf, for that tidbit. We will keep our eye out. We will keep our eye out on these uniforms, and we'll see what happens in the next coming years.
Nothing drastic, but always fun to play with.
We love it. We love a slight change here and there. I need to know, where were you during the 2006 Stanley Cup playoff win, and what part of involvement were you at this point with the Canes? Yeah,
I was. I ran our promotions fan development department, so I would be probably the equivalent of Sam Heinsohn.
Okay, yeah.
At that point in time, and I helped bring the cup to the ice. So if you watch the video closely, I'm with the two cup guys, like helping them get the cup out of the back of the building and get it to the ice, and then I get mobbed by like 40 people. And I was the one, if you ever look back at those videos, I won't say who, but they're still associated with the team. We were supposed to keep the family off the ice. And we had been such a family team, that playoff run, it all down about the players and coaches' families. And so my job was to get the cup out and then to kind of keep the families at bay until the families could come on the ice. And I was doing my best at keeping them at bay. And one very influential person came up and was like, very politely, Doug, you're letting all the families on the ice. And I was like, no, I can't. And they're like, no, but you are, like right now. And so you can almost go back and watch this video of the families flooding the ice, these league officials somewhat freaking out and yelling at me, and me kind of just being like, I can't.
Hey, like at
sorry,
this point,
that guy told me. And
you had to listen at that point.
Yeah.
But how exciting. Did you actually get to enjoy the moment, though, or were you so worried about the coordination?
No, I was terrified. It probably was weeks later because, the part about that too, and I don't mean to go down this weird rabbit hole of memory lane, but we had a parade the very next day, and so we had to organize the parade, and that was around the building. At the time, Fayetteville Street was closed as they were flipping it for pedestrian mall. We'd wanted to do it there. The city then came back and said, well, we need to do a second parade. So we had these multiple parades we did, and then our job was to take the cup out in the community. So it was kind of a weird time. We'd come out of the lockout where we lost a full season. My department was down to me. I worked all the way through the lockout. We had to hire a full department coming out. Paul Strand, John Chase, George Brown were guys that I hired 2 weeks before the season started. We had no clue what we were doing. That was the entire 05-06 season. We win the cup. We then are like, okay, go take the cup all around town. Opening night the following year, we raised the banner, and like I get teary-eyed, and I'll never forget somebody saying like, oh, you're emotional. I was like, no, I can't believe it's opening night. Like, I don't know what just happened for a year and a half. Like, I don't know where I am. What's my name? What just happened?
Oh, I love that story so much.
Yeah.
Okay, so since you were working with the team for the Stanley Cup, do you have a ring?
I do. Yeah. I have a ring that actually has my name on it, which is wild. So
what does it look like?
So it's a little smaller than the player ring, but it's exact same as the player ring from that year. I don't wear it a lot because it's even though it's smaller than the player ring, it's
big,
audacious.
Sure.
And like, you would notice. Mm-hmm. It's not one that you can like, oh, what do you got on there? It's like,
you're like, oh,
hey, you're trying to blind me, and that looks really weird. So I don't wear it a ton, but it means a lot to me.
Do you keep it in a special place in your home?
I'm not going to tell you that.
You're not? Oh my God, this is Spill the Tea.
I've got it in a special place.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I would too. Oh my God, what a dream.
And she's going to kill me for this. My wife also was with the team at that time.
Okay.
So we're a rare couple where both of us have Stanley Cup rings.
The same exact one.
Yeah, she was not my wife at that time, so it has her maiden name and mine has my last name.
That's really great. That is very,
cool.
very cool. And your daughter, I'm sure, finds that very, very cool too. Does she even know or realize the extent of that?
She doesn't. I don't think she finds anything I do very cool, but she loves the team.
If she doesn't now, she will. She will certainly understand it.
She thinks that she loves KK and Jarvis and a handful of the players, but she doesn't think anything I do is very cool.
Oh, she will. She will. And wait, I saw on your social media, she's getting into sports herself.
Yeah, she is. She's starting softball, and she tries a lot of different things.
Oh, that's so great. Okay, so your love growing up, because you grew up in Winston-Salem.
Yep.
Yours was baseball, correct?
Yeah.
And you grew up playing baseball.
Yeah.
Wanted to be a professional player, but then got into the business side of things.
Yeah, that's the only reason I didn't become a professional player is I really got interested in the business. It wasn't because I wasn't good enough to be a professional baseball player.
Right, of course. No, for sure. But because your love is baseball, did you really know anything about hockey before it came here? Did you follow hockey at all?
So it's funny. My buddies and I were a little different in that we did like hockey in Winston-Salem. And this is like a lot of people from my generation. We played Sega Genesis, and there were some great hockey games on Sega Genesis. And so I'll never forget, I think it was like 7th or 8th grade, we all went and bought jerseys, and we started playing roller hockey. There were no leagues in Winston-Salem. Yeah. And so that'll tell you kind of where that was in the early to mid-'90s. There was no place for us to really go find a place to play. So we played street hockey. I wore my Florida Panthers John Van Beesbrook jersey and acted like I was going to be the next goalie in the NHL. But it was such a pipe dream then, and it was hard for us to watch, and there weren't games. So when the Canes came in, it was a really cool thing. We liked it, but it wasn't the sport that I grew up playing.
Yeah.
And I think that helped a little bit. I tried one season in minor league baseball working, and there was too much where I wanted to critique the players or watch that
too
piece.
Close to the game.
Yeah, and in hockey there was never a time where I thought, well, I could probably be out there doing fourth line minutes. That has never crossed my mind, and I think it's been able to help me separate between the game and the business.
What was your favorite team? Do you have a favorite?
Braves. I'm a diehard Braves fan.
If I had to guess, I would.
So I was born in South Carolina, and even growing up in Winston, the Panthers came in late, so I'm a Commanders fan now, and that was the team that was here. I've grown to love the Panthers, but they were not here until I was 14 or 15. Then the Braves and TBS, that was all you watched.
Yeah.
So like the Dale Murphy, Ron Gant, that 91 era Braves team that went to the World Series from worst to first. I mean, that was like what my world was back in the 90s.
Oh my gosh, amazing. Yeah. And then look at this, the hockey comes here and your world just kind of comes full circle with your friends. And do they ever look back on those times and be like, did you ever anticipate that that's from us playing street hockey to you being the president now? Do they?
They text me a lot of weird questions.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. When you were bringing up Sega Genesis, did you ever play the hockey game I grew up playing was Blades of Steel? Do you remember that one?
Yeah, do you remember Blades of Steel?
That was a good one.
Blades of Steel was good. It was no NHL. So 93 to 94 when there could be fighting, and then you had one-timers in 94. Those were the big iterations of NHL. So, I mean, even when I was in the late 90s, early 2000s, I took my Sega to NC State. And we would have tournaments in my dorm room as a freshman.
Oh my God,
so
that's awesome.
It was something we always kept around.
So what do you do for fun if there is ever any downtime for you?
I don't know. Listen, here lately there has not been downtime. I like to be active, so I mean I like to work out and ride my bike. Mm-hmm. My daughter now loves bike riding, so I think any time we kind of try to get out and get on a trail somewhere. But free time is not something I'm too close with here lately.
Listen, I mean, I would be surprised if you had any free time, but I do hope that in the off season you get your chance to kind of have a little break. Now, does your daughter come to a lot of the games, and is it great seeing the game through her eyes?
I love that, and I love that I kind of had what I call a sabbatical there, where I had 7 years as a fan. You get ingrained to it. I was there for 16 years. It becomes what you know and do. Mm-hmm. I would always tell our staff, remember, people who are coming for the first time don't know these things and they don't understand certain things. And we need to make sure that we're not catering to an audience that's just kind of our devoted fans. We have to keep widening that net.
Yeah.
That helped me, one, leaving and kind of seeing the fan experience from a different angle. But two, my daughter helps me see it through her eyes. She's 9. The lifelong fans, so there was a study way back when, lifelong fans are made around age 7 or 8.
Okay.
And usually it is a family tradition or something big happens, right? So we're focused on that her age range of 7, 8, 9, making sure Stormy's getting to schools, making sure we've got good school programming, that you see the brand, you interact with the brand, and then doing everything we can to get kids to the game, to see the game, and learn about the players. Those are big, big pieces because you have to put it at their level to where they want to consume it and understand those things, and then they grow with it. It's just harder at age 20 to try to introduce that to somebody.
Absolutely. So. And speaking of the fans, what has been one of the biggest takeaways that you've gotten from the fans this year? Things that they like, things that they want to see improved?
Oh, man. I've had a lot of suggestions this year from fans.
And they also have the opportunity on, there's a QR code in game where people can say what their favorite part of the game is and what they're not. So there is a lot of opportunity for the fans to have their voice heard, which is so great.
I think beer prices is one thing. No, I'm just kidding.
But you're offering slightly. That. I mean, we do have some games where it's the big hockey beer stick, which
big
is
stick, or
fantastic.
It's usually a 22 to 24 ounce beer.
Right.
People don't always break it down per ounce.
Those are fun.
They are. Yeah, I've heard about that. I don't get to experience that anymore. It was funny when Tom Dundon once asked me, like, do I know? And I was like, Tom, I know the exact prices of these because I was buying them like 6 months ago. As a fan, I think a lot that we've heard from fans is really how we're looking at the construction and what we're doing with concessions. I think most people, when you come to the game, what you want to do is be in your seat the longest you can, right?
Yeah.
So how do you reduce lines getting in the building? How do you make parking easier? How do you make the ingress process easier? And then how do we make concessions quicker, faster, and restrooms more readily available? And I think those are all things we're trying to take into account as we're doing this construction process.
Fantastic. Okay, well, we have made it to the last segment.
Oh, man, I'm nervous.
Don't be nervous.
Okay.
It is called Spill the Tea.
Okay.
And just answer to the best of your ability.
Oh, God. Don't get me in trouble.
I won't, I promise.
Okay.
It's been fine so far, hasn't it?
Okay. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Is a Major League Baseball team coming here to Raleigh?
I don't know. Man, you say you're not going to get me in trouble. That's like the hottest topic. There are a lot of steps to that. And I think what we're trying to do with Major League Baseball is we want to make sure we're ready if it's possible.
Yeah.
They have released nothing to really any real extent about expansion or anything to that nature. But I applaud Tom Dundon for always wanting to make sure that we have done our homework and that we're ready if something presents itself. But there are a lot of steps in that process.
Of course. I just had to ask. You were sitting in the chair, so I just had to ask. It would be very cool, but
it'd be great
when and if it comes. Okay. Now these aren't hard at all.
Okay.
Favorite place to eat on the concourse? If you could choose one snack.
I think our barbecue is amazing.
Oh, it's so good.
So I love our barbecue in Slaw. Outside Gonza, I'm a big Gonza fan, so I usually would hit that up. But I'm a picky eater. So,
are you?
Yeah, I'm a little tougher to nail down.
Okay, interesting.
So, yeah.
You just don't you kind of like your basics.
Yeah. I kind of like it's not basics. I eat gluten-free, so it makes more things a challenge.
As well. Okay.
But I do love our concourse because there's some good gluten-free options.
There's great gluten-free options, and I do commend Lenovo Center and you and everyone for that because, yes, I myself...
I might have been in a few people's ears the last 7 or 8 years because I was the fan trying to eat, but I think there's a lot of solid options. Absolutely. And we're trying to continue to push those forward.
Fantastic. Delicious stuff on the concourse. Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10... how stinky is the locker room? I've never been down there, so I have no idea.
I'm maybe immune to it. So if you went into like a youth locker room, that's like a 10, right?
I'm sure.
Because those bags don't get cleaned. You got to remember that our guys' equipment is cleaned regularly.
That's right.
Like they still sweat and it still smells of sweat, but to me it's like a 3. Like it barely registers for me.
Yeah. No, I can imagine that because the locker room, I mean, when we see it from a fan's perspective, when the camera, does a little shot of them inside the locker room, it's such a nice locker room. It looks so clean.
And Bob Gorman and team do a great job of keeping those guys' stuff clean.
Yes.
It's the 12 and under team that you go into at Invisalign that's where you might want a nose plug.
Listen, they're just starting the deodorant. They're just getting into all that.
They aren't sure what's going on.
Yeah. That's so funny. Okay, so normally when we see you, you are, in your suit and tie and buttoned up, but do you ever wear a Canes jersey? And if so,
I wear a lot of hoodies.
One?
I don't wear a jersey. I've got a number of jerseys that I've acquired over the years just through random auctions and things of me liking the team.
Yeah.
People ask me a lot of times kind of who. I don't usually go with the top guys. I loved Eric Stahl, Rod Brindamore, Ron Francis, Glenn Wesley, our 4 retired players. Scott Walker and Tuomo Rutu are 2 guys that I used to get asked the question of, like, who would you say were favorites? I wouldn't put them as favorites. They're guys that, one, were great to work with. They were great community guys, were great family guys. They also played like how I would have played, I think. Smaller, a little undersized, but kind of feisty. I think Logan Stankoven could fit that bill a little bit right now. I've always liked those guys. Mm-hmm. So hustle players.
They're hustle players.
Yeah. It's not to say they weren't high in talent.
No, for sure.
Because I always used to hate that knock when I was a player. He's a hustle guy. It's like, what are you saying? I'm not good?
Well,
but you just,
and you can relate to that hustle because you've done it your whole life. So I can appreciate that. And with the playoffs being around the corner, how good are you feeling about this season? We don't have to say what the end goal is, but how good do you feel heading into the playoffs?
Man, I love where we are. I think we are sneaking up on people.
I agree.
And I think we have a team that can compete with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of it's going to depend on how we are gelling at the right times. What's the goaltending play look like? What's our defensive play look like in front of it? How's our power play clicking? And I think I feel good about where we are. And it's odd right now that we have almost 2 weeks where you've clinched. We essentially know who we're playing and likely at home, right? We know we're starting with the Devils, likely starting at home Easter weekend, which is always fun to slay the Devils on Easter weekend. But we've got 10 days until that kicks in. So there's a time where you can actually give some guys some rest. Hockey might not look the best while you're doing that, but I think our team will be really well prepared for the playoffs.
I absolutely agree. And this last one is not a question,
more
of a listener suggestion. As we know,
concerns me.
No. I think this could be a really cool idea.
Okay.
Just let me know your thoughts. Okay, so we know Coach Rod Brindamore would never want a statue of himself somewhere. He's not like that. But do you think it's possible we could name the main road in the entertainment district when it develops 17th Street as a nod to Rod?
Okay, I like that. Rod deserves anything and more that we could give him. So I think 17th Street that's a really cool option. I think a statue, I think you name it, Rod helped cement our team as credible. I was actually joking with him the other day because, when he moved here in 2000, 2001, we were still trying to figure ourselves out as a city, as a team. He moved in the middle of a huge snowstorm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so he had this kind of rough intro to Raleigh, and now he is the staunchest defender of our region. He married Amy Biedenbach, who's now Amy Brindamore, who's a NC Stater, dance team at NC State. They are true Triangle residents, and I think it's just the coolest thing to watch him go from player to coach. And he has always been an effort, grit guy, but I think we owe a lot of where we are to Rod. So you name it, I think it's a great idea.
Fantastic. Well, on that note, thank you, sir, for all your hard work and for giving all of us Caniacs the opportunity to not only enjoy the best team in the NHL, but to have our voice heard. And you have done a fantastic, fantastic job. It's an honor to have you as the boss, and I appreciate all that you've done. And with that, thank you so much for joining me on the Iced Tea Podcast.
Thank you, Meghan. Appreciate it.
Thank you for watching this season of the Iced Tea Podcast presented by Lane & Associates Family Dentistry. I am so thankful to all of you who've taken the time to watch and listen, and I can't believe this is the last episode. Hopefully more to come, but I also wanted to say a big thank you to my production team, Joe, Anita, Ashley, just working endlessly on this podcast to deliver what you see. So thank you so much. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share, and we'll be back soon.